two strong demon god-like figures suddenly clashed in the sky. A sudden metallic sound was accompanied by a frightening storm as it suddenly swept across the sky. The experts from both parties within a 1,000-foot radius were sent flying by the storm, their blood violently churning in the process. The wind erupted and the golden light giant, which Xiao Yan had transformed into, trembled slightly, taking a step back. That large man named Xianmo on the other side staggered a couple of steps back, each step collapsing into many dark empty spaces. Surprise flashed across Xianmo's face after failing to gain an advantage in the collision. With grave eyes he looked at Xiao Yan, who was a short distance away, and coldly smiled, remarking that the brat did have some ability. Xiao Yan's eyes swept over Xianmo, his brows slightly knit. He realized the strength of the three great dragon islands was indeed powerful to have such a powerful expert among their subordinates. He reflected that if he had not relied on the King Kong glass body, his strong body refined by many natural treasures, and the Heaven Phoenix Essence blood, he would not have gained the upper hand in the physical clash earlier. Xianmo then looked at Xiao Yan and cried out in a cold voice, demanding to know who he was and ordering him to give his name, asserting that the matters of the ancient Void Dragon tribe were not something an ordinary person could interfere with. Xiao Yan completely ignored Xianmo's cold cry. His eyes swept to the northwest, where two figures were hurrying over with lightning-like speed, appearing beside Xianmo within a couple of flashes. Simultaneously, an icy cold voice was quickly emitted, urging Xianmo to stop wasting his breath and to just attack and capture him, as the three great dragon kings would likely be victorious soon and nothing must go wrong before that. The two who had appeared were an old man in a green robe and an old man in a yellow robe. Both appeared extremely old, but their eyes possessed a surging chill, clearly indicating they were not merciful people. Xiao Yan's eyes were grave as he studied these two old men, his eyelids involuntarily beginning to twitch. Based on his senses, he could tell they were a little stronger than Xianmo, at the top of the intermediate 2-star Doshin class. Soon after the two old men appeared, a furious cry was suddenly emitted from the Dragon Hall, challenging whether the three of them were trying to bully the eastern Xian region because they thought it had no one. Xiao Yan sensed the space around him fluctuate as two white-haired old men with unusually sharp eyes appeared. Zhu hurriedly came over and explained to Xiao Yan that these were the first and second elders of their eastern dragon island. Xiao Yan grinned upon hearing this explanation, cupped his hands together, and greeted the two elders. A white-haired old man holding a dragon-shaped walking stick glanced at Xiao Yan as a smile slowly surfaced on his face. His voice was quite courteous as he stated that little friend Xiao Yan need not be so polite, that he was a friend of the Dragon Emperor and naturally an important guest of Eastern Dragon Island, and that the island would remember the favor of his help this time. Zhu then softly informed Xiao Yan that the green-robed man was the first elder of the Western Dragon Island, called Zhu Mu, an intermediate 2-star Doshing, and the yellow-robed old man was the first elder of the Southern Dragon Island, called Lai Shan, possessing similar strength. Zhu added that these two, along with Xianmo, were the highest-ranking commanders of the three great dragon islands other than the three great dragon kings, in charge of the offensive against the eastern dragon island. Xiao Yan slightly nodded, his heart a little shaken. He thought that 3 2-star Doshings was a lineup an ordinary faction could not muster, and the ancient Void Dragon tribe was indeed worthy of being the strongest tribe in the magical beast world. Moreover, this was a situation where they had separated. If unified, they would not be inferior to the Hun clan, the Gu clan, or other super factions. The green-robed first elder from the Western Dragon Island then looked at the old man holding the walking stick, coldly laughed, and asked if they were going to continue their stubborn resistance even after things had developed to this stage, warning that by continuing to resist, the strength of the Eastern Dragon Island would be completely exhausted. The Eastern Dragon Island's first elder, addressed as Qingshan, rolled his eyes and spoke in a faint voice, declaring that his Eastern Dragon Island would not allow traitors who had forgotten the rules of the tribe to continue on, even if they had to exhaust their last man. The first elder Zhu Mu from the Western Dragon Island laughed and said he would see whether their tongue would remain that tough after the 3 dragon kings finished off their dragon emperor. He added that if they counted the time, the reinforcements sent by the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe would likely be arriving soon, and then he would see just how they were going to resist. The second elder from the Eastern Dragon Island gritted his teeth and furiously cursed, calling them shameless fellows who had forgotten the enmity with the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe, were unworthy of being tribal members, and whose consciousness had been eaten by dogs despite the Dragon Emperor having spent effort grooming them. The expressions of Xianmo's group became slightly unnatural after hearing the second elder mention the Dragon Emperor. They finally replied a moment later, arguing that the Dragon Emperor had been missing for thousands of years and was likely no longer in this world, and that they would finish off the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe once they unified. They insisted the ancient Void Dragon tribe had been separated too long and must be united as soon as possible, yet the Eastern Dragon Island was blocking the unification. First Elder Qing Mu chided their words as gibberish, stating the Dragon Emperor possessed the true royal bloodline, while the three great dragon kings were only partially related at best, and dared to proclaim the unification. He accused them of separating the ancient dragon clan back then due to their selfish desires. Xiao Yan, listening to this exchange, gained an understanding of the situation. He realized all members of the ancient Void Dragon tribe wanted unification but had different ideas, which had eventually resulted in the eruption of the Big War. Xiao Yan then interjected, stating they need not wait for the members of the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe, as he had coincidentally met them along the way and sent them packing. Both parties were startled upon hearing Xiao Yan's words. They hurriedly shifted their eyes and caught sight of Qin Huang, who was in a sealed state. Xianmo stared at Xiao Yan and furiously cried out, calling him a bastard who dared to ruin the plans of their three great islands, and ordered the two elders to stop wasting breath and attack to flatten the Dragon Hall. The Western and Southern Dragon Island's first elders nodded slowly upon hearing this order. Their mouths emitted a dragon roar, and soon after, hundreds of lights came rushing over from a short distance away, stopping in the air above the Dragon Hall. The 10 people leading possessed an extremely frightening aura, all having reached the Banshin class, while the remaining were mostly above the 5th star of the Dozun class. Many dragon roars were emitted from the Dragon Hall below after seeing the experts from the three great dragon islands gather together. Immediately, the rushing sound of wind appeared as many figures appeared behind Xiao Yan in an orderly fashion, their eyes ruthlessly looking at the large group in the distance, the dou qi within their bodies rapidly circulating. The atmosphere of the entire area became extremely tense as the experts from both parties stepped forward. A loud and clear energy explosion was suddenly emitted in the distant space while both parties were facing each other, shattering the face off. Many powerful auras began to charge into the sky. The experts from both parties seemed to have become ferocious tigers that had descended the mountains, all rushing forward with low and deep roars. In an instant, the entire place turned into complete chaos as an intense battle erupted. The battle caused one to feel dazzled. Although the number of experts from the three great dragon islands was much greater, it was not easy to swiftly swallow the fighting strength of the Eastern Dragon Island, so the battle descended into a seesaw-like stalemate. Xiao Yan's palm struck an expert who had reached the peak of the Dozun class, forcing the expert to spit out blood and retreat. His body quickly moved, appearing beside the expert, grabbing his hand and using him as a weapon to smash into an elite Banshing. The frightening force caused the Dozun expert's arm to explode, and the Banshing spat out blood and flew backward. Xiao Yan suddenly lifted his head, his eyes looking to the empty space in the distance where the most important battleground was. Its end result would determine the outcome of the war. However, the situation in that light cluster caused his heart to sink as he saw Ziyan tiring and being pushed back by the combined attacks of the three dragon kings. Xiao Yan's eyes suddenly became sharp. He exhaled a deep breath and emitted a stern howl, declaring that the two elders and tribal chief Yao Ming would help deal with Xianmo and the other two, while he would help Ziyan. A pair of huge green-red bone wings spread apart. Xianmo and the other two first elders were immediately startled upon seeing Xiao Yan move. Before they could give chase, Yao Ming and the first and second elders from the Eastern Dragon Island hurried over and blocked them. Xiao Yan flapped his bone wings, a wind-lightning sound appearing as his body rushed out of the Eastern Dragon Island with lightning-like speed toward the battleground in the empty space, declaring he wished to see just how frightening the three great dragon kings were. The long dark golden spear cut a bright arc in the emptiness before ruthlessly smashing into the hand of a middle-aged man with a crown, a hand that had transformed into a claw. The frightening force shattered a great amount of scales. The moment that long spear left that delicate and beautiful figure, another figure began to approach in a ghost-like fashion, an extremely sharp palm went unhesitatingly and mercilessly slamming toward her. The owner of that beautiful figure narrowed her eyes when she sensed this sneak attack, her sharp nose emitting a low cold snort. With a shake of her arm, the long spear seemed connected to a chain as it was instantly swung in a soul-stirring arc, forming a semi-sphere that heavily struck the sharp palm wind. The powerful force erupted, forcing both to stagger back before stabilizing. This failed surprise attack caused the man to involuntarily let out some praise, laughing that it was indeed worthy of being the Dragon Phoenix constitution. He then asked why she needed to continue this stubborn resistance, noting that although she possessed the extremely rare Dragon Phoenix constitution, she had yet to mature, and was being naive to think of fighting the three of them alone. Xian's face was dark, a chill spreading from her pale purple eyes as she retorted that the Western Dragon King should stop acting, accusing the three of them of taking advantage of her father's disappearance to split the tribe, making them the sinners of the tribe. A somewhat shady-looking middle-aged man coldly stated that the three of them also possessed the royal bloodline, so it was only logical for them to proclaim themselves kings, and asked since when a young fellow like her could reprimand them. There was a man in royal robes among the trio who always had a smile, giving a good impression. He softly suggested that the losses from the internal conflict had been far too severe, and asked why she couldn't take a step back to avoid the battle. Xian glared at the Northern Dragon King with great dislike, thinking he was the one who would stab someone in the back, having tempted the other two to separate from the tribe. She then knit her brows, her entire being filled with a dark aura as she coldly cried out, asking if they thought they were worthy of having the royal bloodline, and that the ancient dragon tribe would be finished if it ended up in their hands. The Northern Dragon King smiled upon hearing her words, softly saying that since she was so stubborn, he could only capture her by force, and that once she witnessed the prosperity of their ancient dragon tribe in the future, she would naturally understand what he was doing was correct. He then urged that they should attack and not continue to delay, as the situation might change. The Western and Southern Dragon Kings hesitated for a moment after hearing the Northern Dragon King's voice, then violently nodded. Xian's face became gloomy after seeing the three prepare to attack together again. Her body moved as she pulled back, a pair of 1,000-foot large phoenix wings spreading from her back, flapped to generate frightening strength. These wings caused the Northern Dragon King to frown. A cold cry sounded as his body took the lead in rushing forward, the Western and Southern Dragon Kings following close behind. Their bodies had just begun moving when an explosive cry suddenly resounded from empty space. A large finger and palm suddenly descended from the sky and ruthlessly smashed toward the trio. This sudden attack also startled the three Dragon Kings. They quickly waved their sleeves, a frightening force shooting out with lightning-like speed to shatter the yellow spring finger and the yellow spring palm. The trio immediately turned their icy eyes after shattering the palm and finger, finally pausing on a skinny figure flapping a pair of green-red bone wings suspended a short distance away. Upon seeing their attacker, a chill flashed across the Southern Dragon King's eyes as he cried out, asking if the brat was asking to die. Xian, who was flapping her 1,000-foot large phoenix wings, was also startled by this figure. Joy quickly flashed in her pretty eyes, soon changing into worry as she cried out loud, asking Xiao Yan what he was doing here, stating he was no match for them and urging him to withdraw now. With her current strength, she could see through Xiao Yan's advanced 1-star Doxing level at a glance. Although his improvement speed was shocking, his opponents were the renowned three great Dragon Kings. Xiao Yan ignored Xian's cry, posing only a question, how long she needed. He could tell she was preparing a powerful strike requiring time. Xian was startled upon hearing his question. She gently clenched her teeth before answering, 10 minutes. Xiao Yan gently exhaled and softly replied to leave them to him. Xian knit her brows, looking at his somewhat skinny back. She thought of the three great Dragon Kings as top experts on the continent. The Western and Southern ones were advanced 3-star Doxings, and the Northern Dragon King had half a foot in the 4th-star Doxing class. If the three cooperated, even an initial 4-star Doxing would struggle, let alone Xiao Yan as an advanced 1-star Doxing. The Western Dragon King coldly snorted, remarking on the arrogance of his words, noting that an advanced 1-star Doxing might appear strong but would find it difficult to stir any trouble in front of them. Xiao Yan was without expression, completely ignoring the mockery. Both his hands were swiftly placed together, forming many extremely complicated hand seals while the spiritual strength on his brow began to stir. The Northern Dragon King frowned, his naturally cautious self unwilling to take a risk. He insisted that all three of them attack together with all their strength to kill Xiao Yan before dealing with Xian. The Western and Southern Dragon Kings curled their mouths upon hearing these words, feeling some disdain for his cautiousness but not arguing. Their three bodies rushed out at the same time, sharp lethal attacks whistling toward Xiao Yan. The seals formed by Xiao Yan's hands changed with lightning-like speed. Simultaneously, his spiritual strength suddenly erupted from his brow, turning into a 1,000-foot-large illusory figure that wrapped around his body. That illusory figure abruptly opened its huge mouth after the seals were formed, a strange and frightening ripple erupting like a storm, the yellow spring divine anger. After the strange sound was emitted, the empty realm seemed to instantly quieten. A moment later, the expressions of the three great dragon kings gradually changed as they discovered the frightening sonic wave attack coming from all directions. The face of the northern dragon king was covered with a grave expression. He had not expected Xiao Yan to unleash a spiritual attack, knowing that while the physical bodies of the ancient void dragon tribe were extremely powerful, spiritual strength was their weakness as magical beasts. He shouted a warning to be careful. The empty realm began to tremble. The Northern Dragon King immediately sensed a giddy feeling from his head after the sonic wave was transmitted into his ear. He explosively cried out for them to join hands, and the three gathered together. The frightening sonic attack arrived before they could completely circulate their do qi. The spiritual assault quickly arrived and disappeared just as quickly. The bodies of the three Dragon Kings emitted a deep muffled sound the moment the sonic wave penetrated them. The three stiffened bodies solidified for a moment. Both faces of the Western and Southern Dragon Kings immediately paled as they spat out a mouthful of fresh blood, intense pain from their minds giving them the impulse to tear off their heads. The Northern Dragon King's condition was slightly better, but his face was also a little pale. His eyes were extremely ferocious as they looked at Xiao Yan, filled with brutalness and murderous intent, vowing to tear him apart while he was still alive. Xiao Yan's solemn face revealed a grin. The seal formed by his hands changed. He widened his mouth and a faint voice was slowly emitted, commanding, "Explode!" The eyes of the Northern Dragon King shrank the moment his voice was emitted. He turned his head abruptly to see another Xiao Yan appearing a couple of meters behind. At this moment, there was a fire lotus consisting of 5 different colors in the hand of Xiao Yan, slowly rotating. That Xiao Yan lifted his head the moment they turned theirs, giving them a mysterious smile. That beautiful 5-colored fire lotus exploded like beautiful fireworks in his hands. A 10,000-foot large firestorm swept over the sky at this instant, its frightening temperature causing fierce flames to rise across the eastern Dragon Island despite the distance. Some of the weaker individuals were shocked to find the blood in their bodies beginning to boil. The extremely chaotic battles across the eastern Dragon Island became quiet when this earth-shaking storm appeared. Many pairs of eyes were filled with rich shock as they stared at the firestorm. Even someone as strong as Xianmo revealed a solemn expression sensing this annihilation force. The expression of the first elder from the western Dragon Island suddenly changed, his voice containing great shock as he stated it seemed to be an attack unleashed by that brat. Xianmo's and the other first elder's eyelids twitched upon hearing this, their hearts filled with disbelief that such a terrifying attack originated from an advanced one-star doshing. The group from the eastern Dragon Island exchanged glances, joy visible on their faces, thinking he was indeed worthy of being a friend of the Dragon Emperor, and that with his help, the Dragon Emperor might have an easier time. Xiao Yan's figure rapidly pulled back within the empty realm. A jade bottle appeared in his hand as he stuffed medicinal pills into his mouth. Having unleashed the yellow spring divine anger and the 5-colored lotus flame in a row had exhausted him. Moreover, he had formed the 3,000 lightning illusory body. At the last moment, taking advantage of the 3 Dragon Kings' inability to sense their surroundings to quietly appear behind them and explode the fire lotus, engulfing them in its destructive strength. He knew these attacks would cause even an expert 3-star doshing to suffer serious injury if caught off guard. The combination of soul attack and exterminating destruction was terrifying. The storm was like a natural disaster, emitting a frightening temperature and annihilation-like wave. Xiao Yan did not dare to easily touch these assault waves. He thought that although his attacks were powerful, the bodies of ancient void dragons were unbelievably tough and the 3 possessed extraordinary abilities, making it difficult to kill them. The enormous firestorm in the distance violently shook as this thought flashed. Its rotating speed gradually slowed. Finally, a dragon roar filled with wild murderous intent was emitted from the firestorm. Xiao Yan's heart slightly sank upon hearing this roar, realizing they were indeed not dead. Soon after the dragon roar, a dragon claw hundreds of feet in size was violently extended from the storm. 3 dragons tens of thousands of feet long forcefully rushed out, their large blood-red eyes viciously staring at Xiao Yan. These 3 extremely large dragons were the actual forms of the 3 great dragon kings, but their appearances were extremely miserable. Blood flowed from their bodies like streams, over half of their head-sized scales shattered, deep wounds covering their bodies like gullies, with dense white bones visible within. They had survived but paid a heavy price. 3 huge dragons lingered in the empty space, an extremely dense dragon might spreading as though the entire world was trembling. Vicious roars rumbled over the empty realm like thunder. Xiao Yan appeared like an insignificant ant before these 3 humongous dragons. His face involuntarily twitched a couple of times. The bone wings behind him flapped as his body suddenly pulled back, knowing the 3 large dragon kings had gone crazy, and he would likely die if he fought them. Xiao Yan's body had just pulled back when the 3 large dragon kings widened their ferocious large mouths. 3 light pillars 1,000 feet wide shot out with a bang, containing extremely terrifying destructive force likely to completely vanish him if struck. The 3 large light pillars sealed off all his paths of retreat. His expression became completely grave. 4 clusters of heavenly flames were spat out of his mouth, rapidly swelling into a 1,000-foot large plate created by a ring of fire. Angry Buddha reincarnation, a unique Do skill he had comprehended while advancing to Do Xing class. The enormous fire plate had just formed when the first light pillar came rushing with lightning-like speed, colliding with it. The entire world was quiet at the moment of collision. A strange force was emitted from within the circular fireplate before the light pillar shot backwards with a swoosh sound. Although the light pillar was reflected, the force penetrating the fireplate still caused Xiao Yan to spit out a mouthful of fresh blood. The other 2 light pillars quickly followed, all eventually reflected. Nevertheless, the fireplate also exploded with a bang after the last reflection. Another mouthful of blood was spat out as his body flew back 10,000 feet. Those 3 reflected light pillars were ruthlessly smashed into the enormous bodies of the 3 great dragon kings, worsening their originally miserable injuries. A wild and violent roar reverberated around the empty realm. Even the most sinister, Northern Dragon King had become furious, as the combined attacks of the 3 great dragon kings not only failed to swiftly finish Xiao Yan off but instead left them worse off, risking their reputation. Xiao Yan once again forcefully stabilized his body, lifted his somewhat pale face, and wiped away blood from the corner of his mouth. His black eyes revealed craziness as the 3 great dragon kings cornered him to death. Xiao Yan spat out some blood, madness rising within his eyes. Both hands formed a hand seal, and an enormous illusory figure once again covered his body. A giddiness spread through Xiao Yan's head as the illusory figure appeared, but he clenched his teeth, once again activating his spiritual strength to unleash the Yellow Spring divine anger. The frightening spiritual strength assault surged once again, ruthlessly striking the 3 great dragon kings. Their giant blood-colored eyes revealed dimness. 2 continuous spiritual attacks posed great harm. The Northern Dragon King was the first to recover. His large body swayed, swiftly transforming into a human figure. With a flash, he appeared in front of Xiao Yan, his expression ferocious as he threw a punch forward, heavily landing on Xiao Yan's chest. A large mouthful of fresh blood was spat out. Xiao Yan's expression was ferocious as he looked at the vicious face before him. A wild smile appeared as a 4-colored fire lotus appeared with the flip of his hand, smashing into the body of the Northern Dragon King. He commanded, "Explode!" A fire lotus erupted once again, sending the Northern Dragon King flying back 10,000 feet, madly spitting out mouthfuls of blood. He had not expected Xiao Yan to be even more ruthless, exchanging a punch for a punch. The interior of Xiao Yan's body was turned into a complete mess by the Northern Dragon King's palm. Even his chest had slightly sunken. Without his extremely strong body, that palm would have caused his body to explode. 2 light figures accompanied by an earth-shaking murderous desire came rushing over the southern and western dragon kings. Their eyes were bright red, appearing quite mad. The thought that the 3 great dragon kings had been beaten into such a miserable state by a member of the younger generation caused their rational thoughts to be overcome by craziness. The expression of the southern dragon king was ferocious. His arm transformed into a huge claw that ruthlessly slammed toward Xiao Yan's head, which would have exploded into bloody fog if struck. Looking at the rapidly magnified dragon claw, Xiao Yan's body began to tremble. The heart in his chest suddenly began to rapidly beat. The strange bloodline hidden in his chest quietly flowed out, swiftly entering his many blood vessels. After the feeling of that blood flowing, Xiao Yan suddenly felt his strength, completely exhausted, return instantly, appearing even stronger than his previous peak condition. This sudden change startled him. He quickly recovered, preparing to hurriedly dodge, when an extremely bright golden light suddenly flashed past his eyes. Xiao Yan's eyes were shocked because he saw the arm of the Southern Dragon King be hacked off, the break extremely smooth. The shock quickly disappeared. Xiao Yan suddenly turned his head to find a purple-haired figure slowly walking through the air. A liquid-like golden sword slowly flowed through her hands while a destructive force quietly spread. Simultaneously, a mysterious icy cold voice spread with pressure, declaring that if they dared touch him, this emperor would forever imprison them in the dragon prison.